Thanks for joining us. I'm Lorelei Shamayo. This is the Metaphysical Empowerment and Wellness Events. We have lots of practitioners at our fairs, and we interview them so you get a chance to see who they are before you meet them in person. So I'm here today interviewing Barbara Stott. So Barbara, could you share a little bit about who you are, your work, and what you share at our fairs?
Yes, I'll be doing tarot readings in Eugene at the fair. But I also I do spiritual counseling. I used to be a psychotherapist, and there's a story behind that about why I decided to let go of my licensure stuff to actually pursue more spiritual work. And I'm a Reiki master and teach and practice Reiki. And so I do a lot of energy healing and along with sound and messages from the ancestors. And something called sand tray journeying, and which is a shamanic, intuitive, playful way of accessing wisdom and movement. And then also the pilgrimage, which is a very powerful journey that I've been doing with a lot of women.
Wow. Well, probably since you'll be sharing about the tarot readings at the fairs, maybe let's talk a little about that first, and then I'd love to hear a little more about the other things, and particularly your story too about how you transitioned away from doing psychotherapy, because I think a lot of people are going through transitions around that these days, and it might be supportive to others to hear. So tell me about the tarot readings that you do at the fairs.
So they'll be brief. So normally, if I sit down with a person either on the phone or in face to face, hour, and so you get a lot of detail, a lot of richness from that. But you can get a fair amount in the 15 or 20-minute readings that are offered at the fair so that people can have like a little taste of it. And one of the things that I will do, that I do regularly, is to offer people their life and year cards. So what are the archetypes of major arcana that they came here to work with? And who is their teacher for the year, so they can take that with them. My sense about the tarot is that it is it's not fortune telling, it's not predicting the future, because I think we're the creators of our lives, but it is accessing divine guidance, sacred knowledge that we already have, but we often have trouble accessing it, and we have trouble trusting it. If we do, we start analyzing, maybe I made that up, and how do I know? And so it validates and confirms what's already within us.
That's great. And we were talking about your cards a little bit before we started the call. Can you show us some of your cards? How did you choose the deck that you work with?
So I'm not certain which ones I'll bring, but I brought out a few that I know I will bring, and then one or two others. So it varies what I use. I regularly use the Universal Weight, which is a fairly traditional deck, and these are very old deck that I've been working with for a while, and so the images on them are.
Yeah, maybe can you show us a few of the different images? Yeah.
So here's the Hermit, the Eight of Swords. So grown about, but it's actually, I consider all the cards are good because they all help us develop and grow. Here's the Tower.
Great. Yeah, it's beautiful artwork.
They are, and this is the foundation of a lot of the other decks. And so it's the one I teach tarot classes, and I'm considering doing an online class at some point. And this is the deck I use because it's a great beginning deck because of all the images. This is the Sun, which is a wonderful card. I love this. So that's a deck that I often use. Actually, the Emperor wanted to be seen today. It's one of my life cards. I have the Emperor and the Fool. Funny how they work together. So
hold it up just a little bit more. Great.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I always take this deck. It's just and at this point, because I got these before she even had the Minor Arcana, the Star Tarot, and it's a big deck, beautiful artwork from a California artist. And I use these to talk about the archetypes, the year and life card, and the life and year cards, because I can keep them in alphabetical order, and I'm not shuffling around trying to find them. So here's the Fool in this deck. And I love the Hermit in this one. It's really beautiful. Look at this.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
So these are, so maybe the High Priestess. Let me show that one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we'll do the Sun since we showed that one in the other one so people can get a sense of it. So I don't do full readings with these because I have not yet purchased her full deck. As I said, she just had the majors that she came out with when she was first doing it.
Yeah.
But they're lovely.
Right.
So I use those to help people with their with what they're walking with in this lifetime. And I often will use something like the Angel Tarot cards. I mean, and here's the Hermit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't use these as often.
And how is the deck selected?
I'm sorry?
What are the different inputs to how a deck is selected?
Well, I think that what I do as far as like what I bring is that I ask my guides before I come what I'm going to bring. And one of the reasons that I use the universal weight a lot is that I can talk with people because I use all my skills as a counselor and as a spiritual guide too. So I give often some pragmatic information too, and they can look at the images on the cards and kind of relate. Some of the cards are beautiful, but they're a little more esoteric, or and so, but they're sometimes I will say, that's interesting. I'm taking this deck. It's not one I use as often. I have a relationship with all the ones that I use, so I've developed a kinship with them. But there's some that I am particularly fond of. But if I'm called to bring a deck, usually it's something that somebody needs to use. Somebody is going to be attracted to. So, there are people that are into angels or fairies. There are people that are into Celtic wisdom. And so there are different decks that might be called out to bring. And then people can use what they're attracted to, because that vibration is also going to open them up more to whatever information wants to come.
And are there, I don't know how to call it, are there like different types of pulls that you do, different types of ways of pulling the cards, arranging the cards at the fairs?
For the fairs, I tend to do one that I actually created a long time ago, because I was like, how do I have a very hard time even keeping my readings to an hour, because I want to share with people all that I get from it, for them to take with them. And so, how do I keep it to 15 or 20 minutes? Oh my goodness. And so I rarely will do, once in a while I'll get that I'm to do the whole Celtic cross spread, which is, 11 cards and sometimes one or two more. And, but usually I do this shorter reading, and it's as above, so below, and the bridge. As above being what your spirit wants for you, so below how it manifests on the earth, and the bridge, how you work with it. And then if I'm called out, put a couple more cards off the top in certain places, I do that. And there's a lot of richness even in that. Plus, I've given them their life and year cards, which most people don't know. So, they walk away with a fair amount. And then if they want a more detailed information about all the nuance of what they're dealing with, they can contact me for a fuller reading. But it can be pretty rich in a short one.
That's great. That's great.
The time frame, so I'm not taking an hour and a half.
That's great. And maybe could you say a little bit about the sand tray work that you do?
Yes. So sand tray journeying is, I have a coffee table with a lid. I take it off, and it has a well of sand in it from Oregon beach sand. And then I used to have 15 bookshelves, but I downsized. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have 6 bookshelves now. It was really hard to let go of some things, but I have a lot of figures. And so all kinds of figures, people, animals, spiritual figures, natural objects, vehicle, everything you can think of. And they intuitively So we do some meditation. They do what they want with the sand, and then they intuitively choose certain figures. And my job is to coach them the whole time because we have a tendency to get in our heads to just allow whatever attracts them without understanding it, without even liking it sometimes. And see if you can keep saying yes. And then they create that scene of the world, and as you will, the world of the moment for them. And then we journey into the tray. There's a shamanic journey that we take together where we actually go in, and whatever needs to happen then is different every time.
Mm-hmm.
So there can be things that they let go of. There can be things they integrate. There can be things that they have an understanding of. One person did this tray and she said, "This looks random." And I was just kind of smiling to myself. And at the end, she said, "I just realized what this is. This is a map of my entire life journey to this point and where I am and the cusp of an opening to something." So she said, "It's not random at all, is it?" No. So it's, again, all the things that I do are really about trusting that the wisdom that's in us, and just even Reiki is too, because it's what wants to heal is the person on the table is doing the healing, and I'm just offering the energy and the opening. So, it's because we have such magic in us.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's great.
So I love doing that. So part of my pilgrimage that I do, which is a pilgrimage to self-love and authenticity, is an intensive, and I actually used to do it in groups, and now I'm doing it individually with women, that uses a lot of sand tray and journaling and ritual and dance and different kind of integrate the sense of, can we, instead of trying to please everybody else and being adaptive, can we be who we truly are and bring that forth and connect really deeply with our guides and our inner twin, our own soul, so that we can be in alignment with who we truly are. And so we're not always doing the pleasing kind of thing.
Yeah, great. Maybe
the sand tray is just magically fun to me.
Sounds like it. I'm very excited about the idea. But where do you live? Where can people come for sessions?
I live in Lincoln City. In Oregon. So what I've been doing is working on a plan. If people can come for a few days and then come again for like one day, that we can do like an intensive face-to-face sand tray stuff. They can just have a beach vacation. Well, not a vacation, and then we can talk on the phone to kind of keep integrating things. So I've been working on that, and I've got a plan together that I can use. I would love to be able to do this online at some point, but I have some ideas, but I haven't really gotten there.
Yeah, it's great. And maybe just before we close up, could you say a little bit about your decision to stop doing psychotherapy and to switch over to doing this work?
I was a psychotherapist for many years, and I've had a lot of clients that have said that they appreciate that I have that background, that when I'm doing spiritual work with people, that I know what I'm doing as far as like dealing with all the things that we deal with as humans. But what I got to the place where it was increased, I never was as traditional as my teachers when I was in training wanted me to be, but I grew up on the East Coast and led a very traditional life. So I was trained there, and I had this really strong foundation. And it got to the place where I was having a very hard time with diagnosis and labeling and pathologizing everything, because what I was feeling, what I feel, is that what we're dealing with, even serious things that we're dealing with, are part of our soul walk here. They're part of our contract that we made, or something we want to work through. So to say there's something wrong with us, rather than, yes, these are challenging, how do we navigate with these, to turn it into an illness or a disorder, just felt really wrong to me, and I just couldn't do it anymore. What I did on my own time was kind of okay, but you still had, for insurance, you had to do a diagnosis. Plus, it ended up that I had to do CEU, so I had to go to conferences and get training, and I was just twitching when I was sitting in the training. And I thought, Barbara, why are you doing this to yourself? So I finally wrote everybody and said, I'm going to let this go.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been sorry.
Yeah, it's great.
I'm doing really more in alignment with what I'm to be doing here.
Mm-hmm. And how can people find you on the web to connect with you, learn more about your work?
So they can, I have a website, and it's www.barbara, B-A-R-A, Stott, S-T as T as in Tom, OTT.com. And there are YouTube videos, and just ignore the date that's on them for the pilgrimage, because I don't know how to get it off. It was when I did a group one. And they can find out more about all that I offer and about me.
It's great. And I want to spell your name again one more time, too, because it sounds like the sound a little bit. It's Barbara, spelled like it typically is, and then it's Stott, S-T-O-T-T.
Correct.
Okay, great. All right. Thank you so much, Barbara. And
well, I look forward to coming to Eugene and to doing some of these fairs, because I think I love meeting people and being able to, share with them the wisdom of the cards.
That's great. And for all of you watching, thank you so much. You can find out more about all of our events at MetaphysicalEmpowermentEvents.com. We look forward to seeing you in Eugene, Salem, Portland, Seattle, and any other new city we'll be in, maybe Bend next year. Take care.